Well, hello, Kimro.
Hamigama.
Gleba, I told you. Yeah.
Just the two of us.
Yeah. Yes, I can.
And
Yes.
I was late because I had to restart my computer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't. Can you listen, Kachvela Hula Dunya? I don't know
Yeah.
where everybody is. Yeah. So anyway, so how have you been doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Mm.
How is the weather up there?
It's getting a little bit warmer. It has been cold. What's been going Suis Shias,
Mm.
up and down, Suis Shias. Yeah. But last couple of days it's been a little bit warmer, but I'm still bundled up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my office is downstairs,
Oh,
so it's yeah, it gets a little chillier here. But anyway, uh but I kind of like it when it's
I,
cooler. Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Uh, so how many weeks do you usually teach? Does it go into the summer or do you stop at a certain time? Do you take a break?
Yeah, well, we'll take a break, um, probably sometime in June. Uh,
Okay.
I take a break for the summer. Yeah,
Okay.
and might take a break uh, on the Memorial Day week. Because that Tuesday would be right after Memorial Day. Take a 1 day break. There. So anyway, something like that. Yeah, but I usually stop. It's a little vague exactly when, but beginning into June, we'll yeah, uh, we'll find a good place to stop.
Yeah, I was just asking because I just planned a Costa Rica trip, which means
Oh,
I'll
okay.
miss two classes, but that's mid-June. So
That's mid-June. Okay, well, we'll probably be done by that, or pause by that time, take a summer break. Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. Why Costa Rica? Just because, or
well, my daughter was invited to go with her friend,
uh-huh.
and it turns out that her friend's grandparents actually have a big house that they rent out like Airbnb.
Uh-huh.
And they had extra space, so she said, "Well, you guys can come if you want." I said, "Okay."
Oh, well. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
I haven't been there before. It's right on the beach
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, right on the beach. Okay, I
yeah,
didn't even ask you that.
yeah,
Yes. Oh, well, that should be lovely. That should be fun.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you speak Spanish?
Poquito.
No, poquito. Okay, okay.
But apparently, where we're going, there's a lot of tourists from around the world, and it's
Right. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and Costa Rica's used to a lot of Americans, and so a lot of people
right.
speak English there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good, good.
I'd like to go to Scotland. That's where I really want to go, but
Yeah. Well, one of these days. One of these
one of
days.
these days,
Yeah.
it kind
Yeah.
of fell in my lap, so I have to take advantage of it.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, you can't pass that one up. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, but do you have any Gaelic questions for me?
Uh, I did the other day, and I should have wrote it down. Now I can't remember what it was.
Oh, okay, all
It
right.
was something on Duolingo, and just the same complaint I have every time is that they don't give any description about what's going on. So
Right, yeah,
I miss it, and I don't know why I missed it, but I should have
yeah,
flagged it and sent it to you, but I forgot.
yeah. Well, yeah. Just remember, I'm open to any kinds of questions like that because that's one of the um one of the good things about Duolingo is it gives you exercise, in using the language. The not so good thing is they don't have explanations, you know,
Yeah.
for any of the features, and sometimes they just kind of spring stuff on you and then slap you when you're wrong, or they say you're wrong, because I've seen answers that could go a couple different ways, and they insist on a particular one, or there's two words that could be used, and you use the other one, and they want this one, and but they don't tell you, right?
Yeah, right. And I kind of vaguely remember it was about the sentence structure where I thought the pronoun should have come earlier in the sentence, but it got tagged at the end. So,
Okay. Well, I can sort of answer that if I understand. That's not wrong. The pronoun, the object pronoun can go either right after the well, here let me share. This is okay. Here we go. We got somebody coming. Oh, Heather's coming. Okay. 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 What is this now? Oh, this is a PDF. Let me get my well, I'll just get a okay. Oh, okay. Oh, no, I don't know what I'm sharing. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Okay, share the screen. Okay. Okay. All right. So you can see my screen here, right?
yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Real simple. Himi arisht u. Okay. I will see you again. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, though, literally it's, let me do this. Okay. I will see you again. Say that we have two different ways. Just, we'll see I again you.
You.
Or himi u arisht.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. They
Uh-huh.
stuck the you at the end.
Yeah, we'll see you again. Okay. Either one is correct. So that's one of the problems with Duolingo. I mean, they tell you because you did something like this, right?
Yes.
Himi u arisht. Okay.
Uh-huh.
That is perfectly all right. It's um though this is correct too, and sometimes this is more usual because when possible, Gaelic will separate the two pronouns.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay. But you don't have to.
Hmm.
And this is perfectly all right. So anyway, but
Yeah,
again,
I think that's exactly
yeah.
what it was.
Okay.
Oh, good. I'm glad
Yeah.
you explained that. Okay.
Yeah, so when you see something like that, and hopefully as you go along, I mean, you'll keep on practicing, but you'll be able to recognize Duolingo's doing its thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not wrong. It's just an alternative way of being right. Well, like in English, there's many right ways to say a sentence, to state an idea. Well, the same in Gaelic. It's not all locked in. So anyway, but yeah. But you have that feature that you're able to slide the object pronoun towards the end, down the sentence.
Yeah, I've been doing Spanish on there too. And with Spanish, they give a lot of explanation. Like you can click a button and it'll say, explain what this means. But they don't do that with Gaelic.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah.
It has to do with the people who put it together. Because Duolingo gets, I think they work on a volunteer basis. They get volunteers to put it together. Okay.
So this is my question in Duolingo. Why can't I say bantanta bruix, which is boiled, right? I'm learning boiled potatoes. Lay Aaron agus im or Aaron is im? When would I know to use agus versus is?
Okay.
It's bread with butter or bread and butter. It's boiled potatoes with bread and butter.
Okay. Okay.
I encountered this week, and I'm like, why is it is and not agus? Is that is short for agus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. Well, wait. First would be brunch, not brunch.
I know it. Okay, my English dictionary corrected that for me.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's bruich, right?
Brunch.
Bruich.
Yeah. Okay. Is is a form of and or augus.
Like istolum.
Well, no, that's a different is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let me. Okay. Uh. Okay. Let me go back to this. Where are we? Okay. Let me go back here. Okay. I'll do share screen. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So okay. So is tolum.
Yeah.
I like something. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Very often stolum. Okay. And even when you see istolum, with the is, you still probably pronounce it stuff.
Ah.
You probably contract it anyway. Okay. All right. Okay. But that's a different is. So augus, is and apostrophe s. Okay. So augus is used mostly with complete clauses like Hanukkah me Yanvu August Hanukkah me Kasha. Okay, so I went to the store and I bought cheese, August. You see, so right here, this could be a sentence by itself.
Uh-huh.
And that would be most often when you'd use August.
Okay.
Probably you would not use August with Pishik, August Ku, August Bo. A kitten and a dog and a cow. I mean,
Uh-huh.
you probably wouldn't. If you have a sequence of things, very often you'd use, the is. Pishik is ku is bo. Okay. Is kind of in between.
Oh.
And it's not used that often. Okay. But if it is, it's kind of used, let's see, is conic me. Yeah. I think you'd use it more like an augus than an apostrophe s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So if that helps, I mean,
So is it kind of like if we said bread and butter, you just put an N? In English is bread and butter. Bread and butter.
Yeah.
So it's like shortening it, almost like
Bread and butter.
okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Oh. Òran isim. So that's when you use the apostrophe s, the bread and butter.
Uh-huh.
Òran isim. Okay.
Yeah. Duolingo used IS.
Yeah, well, IS is kind of halfway in between.
Okay. It was a little confusing because I knew is as something else.
Yeah.
Like is Misha Heather. Or
right.
Tolum something.
Right, yeah. Well, that's a different is. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So is short for August.
Well, it should be us then.
Oh,
no I. There's no I's in August.
Right. Interesting that you mentioned that because in older Gaelic, I mean, like 100 years ago, you would actually see something like us.
Oh.
Okay, you'd see, something like this.
Oh, okay. Well, that would have made sense to me.
Yeah. This Mikasa.
Yeah.
Boo is kind of Kakasha. Yeah, yeah. So you actually would have seen the US.
Okay. That would have been, I would have made the connection there. I was like, well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
I
anyway,
thought it was situational where you would use is sometimes or August sometimes.
well, yeah. The more complete forms, well, if say you have a string,
Yeah.
individual words, that's when you'd use the 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 is or the
Is or apostrophe s.
yeah, or the apostrophe. You could use is here. It's kind of mikasha. Okay. Okay. But I'm not seeing that much is being used these days.
Oh, okay.
So anyway. But yeah, but you can. Like Lisa and I were just talking about, sometimes, well, as you all know, Duolingo decides what is correct, doesn't explain it to you when there's other correct ways of doing it. So and I've seen where there might be more than one correct word, for instance, and they insist on one being right and all the others being wrong. So but that's but it's still good practice, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a work in progress. I think there is a button. If you really felt like you should have been right, you can click a button and say, my answer shouldn't have been accepted. And they'll go and review those and maybe change
Oh,
the
that's
platform.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you really felt like you were right. And then sometimes there'll be like conversations like you'll say, well, how come this wasn't right? And then some native speakers might be on there saying, well, the reason why you got it wrong was this, or like they could correct you.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, that's a nice feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm far enough along, there's not a lot of people commenting anymore. It's just the
Oh.
beginning levels are commenting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, good. Good.
And so I think right now I'm working on the past tense.
Oh, the past tense?
Yes.
What, the simple past?
Yeah, I think it was like I was doing something.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We
I
already
was buying something.
Let me.
I was
Okay.
looking for something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the verbal noun.
Yeah.
Jennifer. Shirach. I was looking, I was searching. Lorik. I was searching. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but okay.
Sorry, my dogs.
Okay.
He probably sees a bunny rabbit outside.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, hello, Dee. Kimrau.
Hamiguma.
Oh, we have a little a question session going here. Do you have any questions? Any burning Gaelic questions?
Not right now.
No? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, of course, remember, if any occur to you, I mean, always feel free to raise your hand or speak up or even email me during the week. I'm always I'm kind of lonely, so I enjoy getting emails from people.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Leva. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, let's see what we've got going this week. Where are we? Oh, okay. All right. Now. I continue to have problems with my computer. This week, I lost the chapter for last week, the Word version. I have the PDF version for last week, so that's good. But for some reason, I lost the Word version. I can't locate it. I can't seem to locate it anywhere. So I thought, oh, maybe I put it in a different folder. And then I looked in my trash folder. It's not there. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's either me or it's either me or the computer. I'll just blame the computer. Okay. Anyway. But here we go. But I've got tonight's lesson. Okay. And our piper of the week. First, Ishar Gaelic Vrishja, Lodair Cleachdadh. Better broken Gaelic than fluent English. Okay. And Cleachdadh means literally something like clipping, something going along clippingly, an old phrase. I mean, but being fluent, right? Okay. And so here we go. And in Kunya Blàr Chùil on Sheaf Law-Jug on Gipling 1746. Okay, so
Do you want us to see that?
oh. I'm glad you said something. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go screen. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh wait, I'm gonna do this again. Share. Oh, and I don't know if my sound sharing is gonna work this week, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway. All right, so here we go. Okay, so here is the piper of the week. Okay, and piping on the field of Culloden Moor. And I'll explain the reference to that when we get to Sgeulachd. Okay, all right, so that's the piper of the week. Okay, all right, okay, all right. So this week we have Fàilte, Seanfhacal, Proverb of the week, Gràmar the simple past tense. Okay. Sgeulachd, we'll do a little bit of lower more spot. And and Blàr, Lodair. Okay. The Battle of Culloden, which I'm going to for a couple of different reasons. One, it's the anniversary, and two, it's more than just a battle. But I'll explain that. Okay. And what's our song? So we have a couple of songs. So I'll get to those when we. What do we got? Did I put them? Oh yeah, we'll do. I think we did Crodh-Laoigh, Bodach, the cows of the old men, and Hunik, Misha, Lemahu. When I saw with my eyes. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, word of the day: Sassenach. Okay. Now, Sassenach is interesting. It's it means an English person, literally an English man. Okay. But it's used in a couple of different ways. And again, context is everything. Context is all. And so this is how it works. Sometimes you'll see that it means something derogatory. It means, oh, that dirty Englishman, but not quite. You see, if it's used in a Gaelic context, if you're speaking in Gaelic and you mention a Sassenach, it's really just descriptive. You're really just saying, oh, that English person, right? That Englishman. Okay. But if you're speaking in English and you say Sassenach, then it's a dirty word. So do you get the distinction? I can't hear anybody.
So if you're speaking English and you're referring to somebody as a sasana,
Yeah,
that's not very nice.
right. You
But if you're speaking in Gaelic, referring to somebody as sasana,
that's enough. Then it's just descriptive. Then you're just saying he's from England. You see?
In English, does it still mean like Englishman?
No. If you switch from English, well, it means Englishman, but it's more like that dirty Englishman. If you switch in, if you what's called code switch. If you're speaking English and you were switched to Sassenach, it's not a dirty word, but it's derogatory.
Okay.
Okay. But if you're speaking Gaelic, it can just be descriptive. That's just
Okay.
where it comes from. So that's kind of fun. Okay. So Shanachana Shekana. All right, Shanachana Shekana. See what can I do. Okay. All right. First I'll say it, then I'll say it slow, and you can follow along. Okay, so Hofursta stat achur ervur lan riforach ruig ech. Okay, so it's as easy to spot a red squirrel as stopping the tide from coming in, or actually in English, the syntax, in Gaelic, the syntax is turned around. It's as easy to stop the tide as to see a red squirrel, and evidently red squirrels were rare. So anyway, all right, okay. So Hofursta. Hofursta. Stat achur.
Stat ahur.
Eram vuur laun. Vuur laun.
Erafur laun.
Achur vuur laun. Rifjork ruig. Rifjork ruig. Rifjork ruig. Echen.
Echen.
Okay.
Pekin.
Okay. As easy a stop to put on the tide, a stop, a chur to put on the tide, at a vuur laun, on the full tide, rifjork ruig echen. Okay, so let's try that again. Hofursta stat a chur.
Hofursta stat achur
At a vuur laun.
ervur laun
Rifjork ruig.
rifjork
Ruig echen.
ecken.
Okay, Gleva. Okay. So, and as I know, evidently red squirrels were rare and near impossible to find. And so here we have this proverb. It's another impossible thing to stop the tide. So speaking about attempting the impossible, and not just the difficult, do something difficult like climb, a mountain or something like that, but to attempt something that will never be done. Like to put a stop to the tide. So there's an old story about a king who got so full of himself that he tried to stop the tide from coming in. And he was rewarded with just getting wet. Okay. All right. He was disappointed when he attempted to change the unchangeable. Okay. So good advice about not being so foolish as to attempt the impossible. So Hofursta stat achur. So little language note. Hofursta ri. So this is how this breaks down. So you notice up here we have Hofursta, ri. And that's something as something else. So hanchech holua rish agur. So here I simplified it. Hanchech holua rish agur. Okay, the horse is holua as swift, rish agur, as the wind. Or on father, the giant is Pomor, as big rebane, as big as a mountain. Okay, so ho re. Okay, so that's that little feature there. How to say something is as something else. Okay, on Czech holua rishagu, father homor rebane. Okay, and extra points. Why is this reach here and re there? Anybody? No?
The wind.
Yeah, the wind, exactly right. So notice how here we have the, and Gaelic doesn't like re. Okay, so Gaelic doesn't like something like re who. You know, the two vowels next to each other. Remember that picture of a couple of weeks ago? You know, mom telling the little boy vowel not to go hanging out with those other bad vowels. So re-agu doesn't happen. Okay, it'd be rish-agu. Okay, you add the S. Okay, when you have a the. Okay, okay, all right, Gleba. All right, okay, so here we have. So okay, here we have grammar neshekina and the past tense regular verbs. Okay, now so far we've learned a continuous action in the past as being expressed by the verbal noun. Va e a clúch, fat an láinge. Okay, so he was playing. Literally, he was playing. Now, we've been using it, you know, in our beginning understanding of the language as just the past tense. We've used it interchangeably. Okay, but now we're going to take a look at what's called the simple past. See, so we've been using it as something that was being done. So was being done. Vami kluch ball kasha. I was playing football. Vayi Shane ekakeli. They were singing at the Kaylee. Is being done. Hami a driver. I am driving. Okay. Is being done. Okay. Hami or Hayi Jennifer Jr. She is making dinner. Okay. Hayi Jennifer. Okay. Or will be being done. Okay. Okay. The future. Be a Koper Amarik. He will be working tomorrow. He will be working. Or be Sheen Adol Yanavu. We will be going to the store. So be Sheen Adol. So used with the verbal noun, this is what in English is called the progressive. And the limitation of this form is that we make a distinction, English makes a distinction, and Gaelic makes a distinction between I was playing football and I played football. If you say I was playing football, you're kind of verbally putting yourself in the middle of the action. Okay? Okay. When I heard the sirens of the fire truck, I was playing football. Okay. Rather than I played football. I played football means the action's already completed. I was playing football puts you in the middle of the action. The action is still ongoing. Okay. Okay. So now we've been using the verbal noun like this.
Yeah.
Okay. All along. Now it's time for us to take a look at the simple past. Okay. Okay. So not he was playing, but rather he played. Okay, so how do you say that in Gaelic? Now, Gaelic does have a simple past form, and this is what we're going to enter into now. Okay, and I get into so we start this lesson, okay, with the regular verbs. Now, in English, there are something like 200 irregular verbs. Okay, and what we mean by an irregular verb, use English as an example. I think I wrote this down here. Okay, well, the regular verbs are you add the ed, walk, walked, talked, talked, stop, stopped, play, played, killed, killed, so on and so forth, right? Okay. The irregular verbs are see, saw, go, went, do, did. You see, so if you're just learning a new word and a new verb in English and you know that it's regular, you can immediately figure out what the past tense is. You just add the ed, right? Okay. But if you learn a new verb in English and you're told that it's irregular, there's no way that you're going to guess what its form is. You have to learn these one by one. There's even some that that don't change at all. Okay, set, as in set the table. Okay, past tense is set. Okay, the root is set and the past tense is set. Doesn't change at all. Or cut. Cut. He cut the potatoes. We're making buntat. It's making mashed potatoes. So he cut the potatoes. Past tense.
From.
Huh?
I was trying to remember mashed. Prone or something like that.
Prono. Uh-huh.
Prono.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay. Buntatus prono. Okay. All right. So what we do is we use lenition to form the simple past tense. Okay, we lenite the verb. Okay, so first, now in following weeks, I'll get into the irregular verbs, and there's only 10 irregular verbs in Gaelic. Okay, but just because, well, learning the regular verbs is so much easier, and there's so many. That's what we approach first. So first, the root word is that which is the word that shows up in the dictionary. So say for grow, if you look up grow, you get fas. Okay, so that's the root. Okay, or if you look up fas, okay, it's the word that appears there as the verb. Okay, that's the root word. Okay. Okay, so the rule for forming, and here's the rule, okay? Whenever possible, and so it's the whenever possible, that's important, you'll lenite the root of the verb. And that's it. So bull, to hit, is viewel, which would be hit or hitted, okay? Chase, be to stand up. Heish would be stood up. Took, lift, hook, lifted. Okay, he lifted the baby out of the crib. Okay, koshik, walk, koshik, lenited. So note all these are lenited. Brape, pick, vrape, picked. Frecker, answer, wrecker. Okay, very simple. Again, where possible. Now, I'm going to go into some words that it's not possible to lenite, and we've seen those before, and I'll review them. But where possible, you simply lenite. Now, let's go first to vowel words. Okay, the the DH is the equivalent of the lenition for the vowels. Okay, the DH. Okay, and with an F vowel word like fog, to leave, it becomes gag. So you lenite the F and you add the DH, and it ends up with a vowel sound, gag. Okay, right? Or ol, to drink, roll. Okay, and right here on this side I have as reference the verbal nouns. Okay, eat, ye, ate, eist, listen, geest, listen, fas, grow, gas, grew. Okay. Small f. Okay, furig, wait, gurig, waited. Okay, all right, so. All right, so that's what you do with vowel words. And then of course we have the words that or the letters, the words and the letters that cannot be lenited. So L, nok, len, nok, skyn, stat, rui, skuop, small. These words and anything that begins with combinations like that can't be lenited. Okay, all right. So, all right. So, okay. Oh, and I'll just make the note that even though these don't change via lenition, I make the little note. It's not through lack of trying. So they're still considered regular. Okay, so these are considered regular, even though they don't follow the lenition rule. Okay, so it's as if they try to lenite, but they can't. But they're still given credit, okay, as being regular. So so these do not fall under the category of the 10 irregular verbs, okay, in the past tense. And we'll get to those, but not tonight. Okay, right, okay. Now, as with the verb to be, we use ha, on, or nach to get the negative. And we also use the particle do. Okay, do, nachdo, ondo. Okay, this is kind of, and if you need a mnemonic device, kind of similar to the use of did in English, which I've heard English, or not English, but linguistic professors refer to as the dummy do. You know, that did in English, did you see the movie? Okay, doesn't really do anything. Okay, it's just a placeholder. Okay, in older forms of English, I mean, like you read Shakespeare, and sometimes you'll have a question like, saw you the movie? You know, if they had movies back in Shakespeare's days, you know, saw you the movie? You know, ran you the race? You know, but English has acquired the did question form. Okay, and for the negative as well. Instead of saying I ran not the race, we say I did not run the race. And so Gaelic has the do form. Okay, hato, nachto, ando. Right. So examples. And right here, vul it, they hit. Hatavul yet, they didn't hit. Andavul yet, did they hit? Nachtavul yet, didn't they hit? Okay, and right here, I'll come down here. Heish yet, they stood up. Hato heish yet, they didn't stand up. So note the do. Ando heish yet, did they stand up? Nachto heish yet, didn't they stand up? Okay, so in a general sense, if you would use did in English, you would use the do in Gaelic. That's in a general sense, not for the emphatic. I mean, so there's no exact equivalent to they did stand up. I mean, so to emphasize that they stood up. Okay, so there isn't that form. Okay, but for the question in the negative, and I just offer that to you as a mnemonic device. Okay, hook it, they lifted. Hatahoch it, they didn't lift. Underhoch it, did they lift? Nachtahoch it, didn't they lift? Okay, all right. Any questions so far? So
No, but that explains one of my questions I had in Duolingo, so thank you.
Okay, very good, very good.
That's the lesson I want in Duolingo.
What's
Thank
that?
you.
Yeah, okay. All right, okay, all right. So how do we say yes and no?
You say the verb.
Yeah, you say the verb, exactly right. And the thing to remember is, I mean, because we've been working with, the verbal noun and the verb to be, and we've gotten used to saying ha and chaniel for yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
But that only works when you use the verb to be, because you're using the verb, you're answering the verb, you're echoing the verb. Okay, va e rui, and ro e orui, was he running? Va or charo. Okay, so note that right here we're answering the verb. Okay, but in Gaelic, we don't answer yes or no. There is no yes or no in that sense. We answer the verb. So on de vul iet on ku, did they hit the dog? Terrible thing to do. Okay. Vul, yes, or hatavul, no. So we answer with the verb, either did they hit the dog? Hit. Or hatu
Did not hit.
Did not hit. Yeah, exactly right. Okay. Nach durui out park. Didn't they run in the park? Urui, yes, or ran. Okay. Katorui, no, or did not run. You see, so we answer with the verb. Okay. So now, one of the things to watch out for, okay, is sometimes I've seen students, okay, do something like this, get a little bit confused. Okay, so on row E a Jennifer cake. Was she making cake? Okay. And then answer, you see, because in English, we kind of disappear this and we concentrate on this. Okay, I'm going to put an asterisk. This doesn't happen. Okay. So might have somebody say something like, the rain, cake. I'm getting a little ahead, but that's the she made cake. Okay, so we attempt to answer the Jennifer with the word that with the verb that corresponds with it. Okay, so remember, in this type of sentence, we're answering the was. In this case, was she making cake? Not what we would consider the active verb. This in English is the helping verb. In Gaelic, it's the main verb, and that's the one that we answer. Okay, so anyway, so I hope that makes a little bit of sense, because now we have to pay attention to what the active verb is, because it's no longer just automatically ha or va or be. All right. All right. Any questions?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, I'm sure there will be. Okay, so so here are some verbs that we'll be using in the conversation. Boo, vul, counic, counic, oh,
Counic.
no. Yeah, okay. Koshik, koshik,
Hoshik.
kur, kur, gurik, gurik,
Gurik.
ear, year,
Year.
e, ye,
Yi.
oprich, goprich,
Goprik.
ol, go,
Ro.
rui,
Rui. Rui.
Shane, Hain,
Hain.
Tok, Hok.
Hok. Hok.
Okay, so those are words. And actually, I am going to go to something else. I have a fun little, oh, yeah, so this is an exercise. Okay, and we'll just do a couple of these and then I'll leave these for you to do. Okay, so so what would be the past tense of these words? So kuchik would be chuchik.
Kuchik.
How about Brian?
Vurian.
Brian, yeah.
Brui.
Brian with a V, uh-huh.
Mhm.
Scrieve,
Brief.
Scrieve, uh-huh. Lave,
Lave.
Lave, uh-huh. Counic,
Hionic.
Counic, uh-huh. Rake,
Okay.
Rake.
Rake, uh-huh. Kosk,
Kusk.
Kosk, uh-huh. Pie,
Maybe Phi.
Phi, very good. Okay, very good. Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, so you can practice on these and the whole list of these, okay? Okay, so and here is a little story, La Neonach Ekentai, a strange day at home. And I have a where are we going? So I have an illustrated version of it. So hold on one second. Just give me a moment and let me yeah. La Neonach Ekentai. A strange day at home. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So see if you can follow. All right. Martin on J.
Martin J.
Martin on J. Gusk me agus keet me a clock.
Gusk me August.
Keet me
K.
a clock.
Air. Glock.
Clock. Va e animach.
By Anamark.
Uh-huh. So yesterday morning I woke up, gusk me agus keet me air. I looked at the clock. It was late. Yerk me
Yerik me.
galua
Glua.
agus gluas me
August. Gluis.
hun an shom unlach.
Hoon on Shomer Unlach.
I rose, yerk me galua, quickly, galua. See, the goo there works like the ly does in English. Okay, so
Glua.
galua, that's the equivalent of quickly. Lua would just be quick, galua would be quickly. As gluas me, and I moved to the Shomer Unlach. Okay, to the
Room of something.
yeah, the room of shower. Okay, the
Oh.
shower room. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So, Goskol me on Doris.
Gosko me on Doris.
I was hell me a root neonach. Neon.
Hail me
Me a root
Erut
neonach.
Yolnach.
I opened the door. and
But-
I saw something strange.
Ah,
Vakat more gorum. There's a big blue cat
Ounce
on Shomer
on Shomer Eilnot.
Lunch. Okay, yeah, in the shower. Big blue cat. Okay. Yun mi an Doris Galua.
Gun mi an Doris Gulua.
I closed the door quickly.
Quickly.
Jehakyar.
Jay
Me.
Char.
Jehakyar. What is wrong? I thought.
Spionik.
Hoshik mi shias an styra.
Hoshik mi shish Syra.
I walked down the stairs. I guess hill me ounce the kitchen.
I guess heal me ounce the kitchen. I looked in the kitchen.
And I looked into the kitchen, yeah. Ounce the kitchen.
Ounce the kitchen.
Vamacharich column.
Vamo. Hadich. Column.
Mocharich column. My friend column. Okay.
Was there? Yeah.
Dh'ionnsaich, he was dancing.
Oh.
Or he danced.
Ounce.
We'd probably say dh'ionnsaich, but I'm trying to keep with the pattern, the past tense.
Ounce.
Kimarahu on show, hear me.
But on show.
Uh-huh. How are you here? I asked him, or I wanted. Okay, I demanded. Okay. Bondoris Fosculcha.
Dondoris Fosculcha
The door was open. Is Hoshik me a stech.
is Hoshik mi a stek. I walked in. Sign.
And I walked in. Recker a.
Record A.
He answered.
Answered him.
Hui mi agasgol me cup of tea.
Hui me. I got
Gol me
roll me cup of
cup
tea.
of tea. Okay. I sat and I drank a cup of tea. Hein column Òran neonach.
Hain column Òran yon.
Uh-huh. And
Come
Callum
sing a
sang
strange song.
a strange song. Okay. Okay. An urchin,
An urchin.
Hakarut Eila neonach.
Hakarut ela yolnach.
Uh-huh. And then something else strange happened. Happened. Hjal column lore goal.
Hiel column
Uh-huh.
go.
Column showed Hjal a strange book to me, or a book to me. Lave show Herste.
Live show.
Uh-huh. He read this.
Read this.
He said.
Said.
Okay. Lave me on lore August Garmi.
Lay me on love.
August Garmi.
Yes.
Okay.
Garmy.
I read the book and I laughed. Garmi. Vai muyen kat gorum.
Vaimu.
Yen
Gain.
kat
Gorum.
gorum. It was about a
Blue cat.
cat. Okay. Kanakan lore show Hearst column.
Conic and lower show.
Show Hearst column. Buy this book, column said. Okay. He's kind of pushy there. Okay. So and here we see how you command, you use the root verb. You just use the root verb, counting. So that's the root verb, and that's the command, the imperative. Okay. Kimmer.
Kimmer.
Eriget Akam.
Oh. Hanyal iriget akam.
I don't have any money.
How? I don't have any money.
Recker me.
Answered me.
I answered it. Huh? Hanyale Dur, first day.
LA door.
First day.
Okay.
It's not expensive, he said. And dur is related to the English word that Scottish English speakers use, dear. I don't know if you've ever heard anybody refer to something as dear, but it's an older form.
Meaning cheap.
Yeah. Or Hanile dur. Dur would be expensive.
Oh.
Dur would be inexpensive.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Door.
Yeah, dur. is fi me da note ga.
Is
Fi me
fi
da note
da
ga.
note
Okay.
ga
So I paid £2 to him. I was counting me on your,
agus
Hannah,
ceannach me an lower.
and I bought the book. Ga column.
Ga column
So Callum left. I guess heal me yon shomer yappy.
agus heal me an
Shomer yappy akam. Suis on styra.
suas an styra.
So I returned heal to yon shomer yappy akam, my bedroom. Suis on styra, up the stairs. Crumi on lore eravort.
Pour me a lower.
Lore eravort.
Fort
Okay, so I put the book on the table as Chachel me son uer.
agus hatal me
And I slept Chachel for an hour. Okay, or son uer. Nur agusk me,
nura
me.
me
when I awoke, Charo on lor eravort.
haro and lower
Yeah,
Eravort. The book was not on the table. Ach kova ounce on chomer.
ounce
Kova
ounce
on chomer.
on
But who was in the room?
on
cat
cat bottom.
It's lave a on lor.
It's like
On lor. Okay. Leva. Okay. Yeah. So that's the Sgeulachd neonach. Okay. So and using a lot of the simple past tense verbs. Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll come back to this this feature, the simple past tense, next week, and do some more exercises and practice it, and then we'll go on to the irregular past tense. Okay. All right. So, any questions so far?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now I told you, or I mentioned at the beginning of the our session of the anniversary of the Battle of Culloden, Blàr Clàr. Okay, and that took place actually about a week ago, several hundred years ago, 1745, 1746, on April 16th, and it's noteworthy because, well, there are many battles in Scottish history, and so that are, I guess, noteworthy for themselves, but they aren't earth-shattering, and they didn't change things. The Battle of Culloden Moor is what's called a watershed. Gaels very often refer to before Culloden and after Culloden, because what happened in this battle that is really just a moment in time, it really only lasted an hour or 2 hours, and I'll get to the culmination next week, but this week I want to set it up. But in this battle, the entire structure of the Gaelic culture in the Highlands changed, and for those of us who love Gaelic culture, not for the better. It set the it's the time or the mark where Gaelic culture began to be destroyed. Okay. Before this, there's a vibrant Gaelic culture in the Highlands of Scotland, and which actually stretched from Scotland to the Gaelic culture in Ireland. The clans were intact, and the lordship of the Isles was actually in some ways a kingdom unto itself, a Gaelic kingdom. All that came to an end at Culloden Moor on April 16th, 1746. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about now is on Bliana Hairlich, so the year of Charlie. Now, one thing about language and culture in traditional Gaelic culture, years are not numbered, they're named. So Bliana Herlich is how this period is called. And as you see, sometimes they don't even exactly correspond with a numerical year, because the year of Charlie actually runs across 2 years, 1745 and 1746, but it's called Bliana Herlich. Okay, all right, so, and this is what's sometimes called the 45 Rebellion. It was partly a dynastic struggle between the royal houses of the House of Hanover and the House of Stuart, partly a religious struggle. The Protestants in Britain didn't want a Catholic on the throne, and there'd been, I don't know, 100 years of struggles between the Protestants and the Catholics about this, about what religion the king and the nation was going to be. And actually, the Catholics lost eventually. And so for more than 100 years, it was illegal for a Catholic to serve in government. There are many Jacobites in Britain, okay, and those are the people who were adherents of the House of Stuart. I'll explain that in just a moment. And many clans in the Highlands supported the Stuart, okay, which they saw as the rightful possessors to the throne of Britain. Okay, so the House of Hanover was a German Protestant family. George was cousin to former Queen Anne and Charles I, Charles II, who was a Stuart. And he was father of George III of American Revolution fame. So those are the Georges, the King George, who inspired the American Revolution. He wasn't liked by the Americans either. Was a German Protestant, and George I and George II weren't even able to speak English; they just spoke German. The House of Stuart was descended from the ancient kings of Scotland. Goes back to Robert the Bruce, who won the wars of independence when England tried to conquer Scotland in the 1300s. The first king of both Scotland and England was James VI of Scotland and the first of England, and he was a Stuart. And the family was predominantly Catholic. And who is Bonnie Prince Charlie? Okay, so those of you who watch Outlander, might remember Bonnie Prince Charlie character. Okay? And his name was Charles Edward Louis John Casimir Sylvester Severino Maria Stuart. I have to take a breath in the middle of his name. Okay, he was the grand nephew of Charles II, who was King of England. His great granduncle was Charles I, who had his head cut off. So there'd been long battle. And his grandfather was the exiled Roman Catholic King James II, who ruled for a few years, 3 years. And his father, James Edward, was an exiled and called himself James III. He never reigned, though he did try to mount a rebellion of his own in 1715. That's the 15 Rebellion, okay, which the Highland clans came out and tried to put the old pretender, Bonnie Prince Charlie's father, back on the throne. Bonnie Prince Charlie wasn't really Scottish, only by distant ancestry. He was characterized as an Italian-Polish fop. I mean, he never grew up in Scotland. It didn't have, only by descent was he Scottish. He was given to boasting and self-importance. He was a heavy drinker and even drank before he went on his adventure in Scotland. And when things got tough in the rebellion, he drank even more alcohol, frequently being drunk. And And after Culloden, after the battle, hiding in the aisles, in the outer aisles, he would drink straight from the bottle. And sometimes while on the run, yet he initiated a party that lasted 3 days and 3 nights. So he was running from the English who were trying to find him and hang him, and he still was a party animal. So he's a frat boy to the end, I guess. Clàr, the Prince's Shore on the island of Eriskay in the Outer Hebrides, where the prince landed. He tried to land with some French troops and supplies and money, but these were driven away by a British warship, and he escaped and landed on the Isle of Eriskay. The Highland chiefs were dismayed that he had brought no troops. I mean, he had promised troops and money and arms, and some refused outright to give him any support. And they tried to convince him how futile his mission was, but he insisted and eventually won grudging allegiance. That first night, he stayed in the cottage of Angus MacDonald, who is a Gaelic speaker, only a Gaelic speaker. It was a cold, rainy day, and the smoke filled the Black House, called the Black House, because the smoke went up, and can't see it here, but because this is a modern reconstruction, but it got so smoky that the smoke went up and blackened the thatched roof. That's why they called it a Black House. And Charles kept fidgeting, going inside and outside, and MacDonald exclaimed, "What a plague is the matter with that fellow, that he cannot either sit nor stand still, and either keep within or without doors." And he didn't know who the prince was. He was just irritated by him. So anyway, however, eventually the prince raised the standard, that is the royal flag, his royal flag. Okay. Once enough clans had gathered and promised him support, and he announced that he claimed the British throne in the name of his father. See, so there's actually a memorial here in Scotland, in the Western Highlands, okay? And here's a picture of it from a distance, Glenfinnan Memorial, okay, where he raised his standard, the clans gathered. And they marched to Edinburgh, and it was a ragtag assemblage. Only half of them were armed, okay? So they're just, I don't know what they thought they were going to do, but anyway. And the prince made his royal proclamation, and he faced a British force holding Edinburgh Castle. And it was a time of great festivity, again, with the party animal. He had balls and big parties, and he was popular with the ladies, and so he was a real dashing man about town. The one card that he had was his general, Lord George Murray, who is accounted by many historians as being one of the finest military minds in Europe in the 1700s. He was a Scot and a Highlander. He spoke Gaelic, and he was well aware of the other proclivities and the strengths and talents of the Highland troops. He got into furious arguments sometimes with the prince. And there was an early battle at a place called Prestapans outside Edinburgh. Lord George Murray, through vehement arguments, convinced the prince on a surprise attack. So the Highlanders got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and marched and attacked the English troops who were still sleeping, and they defeated them. So it was a wonderful victory for the prince and the Highlanders. Okay. Anyway. A sign of things to come, uneasy. A constant dispute among the clans. The clans were constantly at each other's throat. They were still rivals. Okay. The MacDonalds traditionally held place of honor on the right flank of charge. This is how rooted the Highlanders were in tradition. This was since the time of Robert the Bruce, which is like 400 years before. This was 1745. Robert the Bruce fought the English in the early 1300s, so more than 400 years before, almost 500 years before. Other clans desired the prestige, and a compromise was based on drawing of lots, and the Camerons won, but there continued to be grumbling and complaining, and the MacDonalds didn't like that idea at all. Charlie and the Highlanders advanced into England. So here we have the map, okay, from Eriskay over to Glenfinnan, and then down through Edinburgh, Prestonpans, and then down into England, and Derby, 100 miles from London. So, one always has to think, well, what would have happened if they had just marched that 100 miles? It'd be like a 3 or 4 day march. The royal family in London was packing up and running away back to Germany. Okay, but the arguments amongst the Highlanders and was so great. The Highlander troops were deserting because they were not a regular army. They were just kind of volunteers, and the time was coming, that they had to go home, and so they just gathered up all their loot, and they started heading home individually in small groups, and so the Highland army, the Prince's army, retreated back into the Highlands, back up to Culloden. And on Ahechen, on Rat a Culloden, the road to Culloden. Okay, so next week I'll talk about the battle itself. And again, keep in mind that I'm talking about this not just because it's a battle, not just because I'm a 12-year-old boy and I love to talk about battles, okay, but because, as I said, it's a watershed in Gaelic culture, and it's important for that. So anyway, all right, okay. Any questions? Okay, all right, okay, all right. So let's go to our song. Okay, where are we? Okay, all right. Clàr na Bodach. All right, so, all right. Clàr na Bodach. So say after me, Clàr na Bodach.
Clàr na Bodach.
Okay. The milking cows of the old men. Okay. Clàr na Bodach.
Do you want us to see this?
Oh, thank you, Heather.
Or just repeat after you.
Repeat after me. Yeah. No, it'll be helpful. Be helpful if we see it. Okay, share. Okay, so screen, share sound, share. Okay, all right. Okay, so you should see this now, right? Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Clàr na Bodach.
Clàr na Bodach.
Okay. Clàr na Bodach.
Clàr na Bodach.
Gan tócail riglaun.
Gan tócail riglaun.
Okay, being raised in the glen or reared in the glen. Mahamahoker.
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 Okay, if so, I couldn't care less. If is, if that's so, Mahoker. I don't care. Okay. Haniel Mokroaun.
Haniel Mokroaun.
My cows are not there. A crow is a collective noun that means a group of cows, like a herd. Okay. Clàr na Bodach.
Clàr na Bodach.
Okay, Clàr na Bodach.
Clàr na Bodach.
Clàr na Bodach. Clàr na Bodach.
Clàr na Bodach.
Gan tócail na riglaun.
Gan tócail riglaun.
Okay, being reared in the glen. Okay, so we have a little song. Okay, so we'll do this.
Hello, agus Fàilte go Òran na Seachdaine Clàr-Laoigh.
Okay, so can you hear her?
Yes.
Okay, Bleva. Okay. All right, okay.
Josie Duncan. Hello and welcome back to Song of the Week with me, Josie Duncan. This week we're going to be learning a traditional song called Clàr na Bodach. the old man's calving cows. As is very common in these songs, the
Oh, okay. I'm going to make a little note here. She said the old man's milk cow, the old man's cow. It's actually the men. For grammatical reasons, Bodach means of the old men, not of the old man. So anyway, it just irritates me when they do something like that. All right, go on. Sorry.
title of the song is also the first line. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. And we're going to say this 3 times now. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. And the last line is Gan Tógáil Rígleán. Gan Tógáil Rígleán. So the whole of the first verse goes like this. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Gan Tógáil Rígleán. Now here's the first line of our melody. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. One more time. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. And now here is the second line of our melody, but the same words. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach.
And as we're listening to this and singing along with it or saying along with it, I hope, look what she does with her tongue when she pronounces loy. The tongue goes against the bottom teeth. Clàr nam Bodach. Okay? So it's not an English L, Clàr, like at the top of the palate. It's against the bottom teeth. So you can watch what she does with her mouth when she says this.
Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Now the third line is just a repeat of the first line. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Now we have Gan Tógáil Rígleán. Gan Tógáil Rígleán. And the melody goes like this. Gan Tógáil Rígleán. You can add a wee grace note. Gleán. Gan Tógáil Rígleán. Now we have our verse. And the first line of our verse is Maha Mohogad. If so, who cares? Maha Mohogad. Then remember, once we've learned our first line, it means we've learned line 1, 2, and 3. So let's try that 3 times. Maha Mohogad. Maha Mohogad. Maha Mohogad. Maha Mohogad. Then we come to our last line, which is Hanyal Mohro Aun. My cows are not there. My cattle is not there. Hanyal Mohro Aun. Hanyal Mohro Aun. So what do I care? My cattle are not there. The melody for the verse is very similar, but we have a few wee high notes that we don't have in our chorus. And it sounds like this. Maha Mohogad. Maha Mohogad. So that second line, watch out for that. Maha Mohogad. And then our first line repeats. Maha Mohogad. Hanyal Mohro Aun. Hanyal Mohro Aun. Hanyal Mohro Aun. Now let's put the verse all together. I'll sing it nice and slow. Maha Mohogad. Maha Mohogad. Maha Mohogad. Hanyal Mohro Aun. And now we're going to repeat our chorus, nice and slow. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. Crodh-Laoigh nam Bodach. now we're going to sing chorus, verse, chorus, and that's the whole song. Clàr nam Bodach, Clàr nam Bodach, Clàr nam Bodach, gan Sgeulachd Maha mohogid, Maha mohogid, Maha mohogid, Chùil mohroam. Clàr nam Bodach, Clàr nam Bodach, Clàr nam Bodach, gan Sgeulachd Clàr nam Bodach. Thank you very much for singing with me. Cheers.
Okay, so there we go. Where are we? Now I gotta figure out how to do that. Okay, Flava. All right. Okay. All right. So that'll be it for tonight. Okay. And then one thing to remember also, and this comes up in translation, is sometimes you'll have translations that don't exactly fit the words. Okay, that translators will translate into what is idiomatic. I'd say in this case, idiomatic in English. So so right here, Chanel Mahoker, okay, or Mahamahoker, okay. Where she says, "Who cares?" Well, toker literally means my desire. So she's saying it is literally, it says something like, "It is not my desire, is not my wish." But to translate it, you translate it into something like, "If so, who cares?" It's or "I don't care," something like that. You translate it into something that's idiomatic English, even though sometimes it's not the exact words. Okay. Now, sometimes it's helpful it is helpful to translate try to get the exact words to understand what's going on with the language. And then sometimes you just want to translate how you would say it in English. Okay. And this goes for any language, translation between any languages. But anyway, so just a little note there. All right. Okay. Any questions before we go? All right. Okay. Well, Tapaleva Hula Dunya.
Tapale.
Happily.
Aikava. Aikava.
Aikava Harshan.